Okay. Here we go.
Hello, ballers! What's going on? It's Preacher. Let's have a chat about BFA. God, the sky's falling. What do you think it's like at the Blizzard offices right now?
I don't think Preach is happy with the way that BFA has been going.
Every single, at this point, let's be honest, this isn't biased, this isn't anything. Let's be honest, every single feature that they have released for BFA has been broken or bugged or knackered or has destroyed something else in some way. Every single thing.
So what are the features for BFA? All right, so Warfronts are dysfunctional. Azerite gear is broken. What are the other things? War mode also doesn't necessarily work. Islands have been fixed like 3 or 4 times. Expeditions are dysfunctional with drops. That's very true. Mythic Plus doesn't work properly, I'm pretty sure. Voice chat is scuffed. I guess he's right. Okay, let's actually watch the video.
And it's hard to watch. And people were pointing me to the Reddit thread where people were discussing my content over the BFA Alpha and the Legion, how much I got shit on, how much I was hammered by the online community.
That's true.
How many MMO threads about I'm a doomsayer and all this stuff, and now it's coming to light, and they're all like, Preach must have the biggest boner. No, dude. No. Like, the whole point of making content like that is to change it. I want the game to be as good as it can possibly be.
He was right.
But as we're seeing now...
I was right, too.
BFA has a lot of problems. It has a huge amount of problems. And people keep saying it's going to get fixed and stuff. I don't know about that, dude. There's a lot of this stuff that isn't easy fix. There's a lot of this stuff that isn't just clicking a toggle. That should be doing that. That shouldn't crash you. That shouldn't fall through the world. That's all correct. And I want to point out here, because I'm seeing people try and, again, twist the narrative. Remember we did a video about don't change the past to suit what you want to believe.
This is about CNN.
A lot of the stuff that's broken with BFA, like the little bugs, like the orb in Temple of the Snakes falling through the floor, all that stuff we reported months ago.
That's true.
Not just me, loads of people reported that. It was the very biggest problem with that dungeon, and it still happens today. A lot of this stuff was reported months ago. In terms of the class balances, I reported on that 4 days. 4 days after Legion Alpha launched, I reported on the state of the classes. That isn't new.
Yes.
That isn't changed.
It's true.
In terms of the Azerite armor, Lord knows I did my best to point out that this stuff just doesn't work.
We watched that together.
Not that it was super boring. I did that part of it, but it was such a big, complex thing because it is the foundation of BFA. That it required several videos. It's super boring.
Foundation
Here's the evidence.
of sand.
Not only that, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work in a number of different ways. One, you're trying to encourage people to keep chasing this carrot that's not a particularly good carrot in the first place. And not only that, they already have a carrot. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about,
not a good carrot.
You're asking some people to chase the same traits they already have in order to bump their item level up. And in order to do that, you've provided these systems that, let's be fair here, have had a mixed reception. Like, I personally thought the islands were okay, but the islands I did are not the islands we're doing in live. They were very different. They had bosses and things and stuff like that. They've made them a little bit varied. They felt different each time we went in. Whereas, one, the rewards are terrible. If you're a pet or mount collector, it's even worse. Like, I want AP, at least I'm guaranteed that, right? But it's not a lot, very true. Which is discouraging in itself. And they've just turned into AoE Fest because that's the most efficient way of doing it. And if your content's not that engaging, which it's not, islands I don't find particularly engaging. I'm sure a number of players do, but I'm seeing this response all over the place. And I know there's a lot of people have this mentality that's like, well, the silent majority are just having the best time ever. There's not really much evidence of that. In fact, I'm seeing the opposite in-game.
What a lie.
These aren't the guys posting on the forums. Like, in-game, not just in my guild or in my communities and things like that. People are just saying, like, I don't do this. And the Warfronts. So we have... let's talk about some of the mega issues, which were... Frankly, I'm a little embarrassed for Blizz, because, you know...
Okay.
Blizz was the company whose famous tagline was, it's ready when it's ready. And we can't believe that anymore. They're not that company anymore. Whether you like it or not, they're just not that company anymore.
No.
That's not who they are.
That's true.
They obviously, whether we can guess, because again, Blizzard doesn't communicate with us anymore. They don't talk to us.
No, of course not.
They don't tell us what's happening. They just change
Why would they
things.
do that?
Whether they have shareholders to appease now, they had to get BFA on the books before a certain point in the year for reporting purposes.
Yep.
If it's that, whether it was
about money.
just laziness and incompetence in a lot of ways. I mean, if we look at the launch of and the release of Mythic Plus, where it not only like they forgot the Titanforge cap, the people were getting the caches based on Legion.
Oops.
We had people getting absurd amounts of gear from the arena. All these things that should never have happened.
Yep.
They shouldn't happen.
Well, that
And
one
yeah, they're
should.
fixed afterwards. I get that. I know people are going, well, they'll fix it afterwards. But it should never happen in the first place. We had Warfronts launch, destroyed the entire queuing system. For some reason, some glitch was going on. It would let you join, then it would kick you out after 2 minutes and say there's no instance.
Oh, they did that on
Then it would just
Alpha.
not let you join at all.
They did it on
And
Alpha.
this was going
That's
on
good.
for hours. And they are fixing it.
Just
but it
like
shouldn't
Alpha.
happen in the first place.
Just like
We
Alpha.
still have all these other errors going on, and it gets even worse the higher up you do, including stealth buffs to Gahoon on heroic difficulty. They stealth buffed him, and we should have known that was a change. So we knew before we get there that you've altered this boss fundamentally from what he was yesterday. But we get there, and he's all changed, and everyone's like, what's going on?
Surprise, motherfucker.
And all the raiders are talking to each other. It's like, is Gahoon bugged? I don't know. Is he doing this? No, he's not doing that. Is he supposed to be doing it? Yes, he's supposed to be doing it, but he's not doing it. And then we figure out, oh, they've changed him, but they've not told us. And this is the problem. People are like, well, wouldn't you just adapt? We don't know if the boss is bugged. When you do
That's
things
true.
like that, we have no idea.
It's
The
actually
boss
very true.
description says it should do one thing. It's doing another.
Surprise.
And we're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, are we bugged here? Should we leave this? Do we wait for a ticket? Is it our instance? Should we remake the raid and go in somewhere else? These are the real practical problems that we run into when bosses aren't doing what they're supposed to do. And certainly when they were that way yesterday, and we get in there. And that's really tricky. Mythic 10s, really fun. We have the new... I've got some footage in the background for that. Of the new seasonal... affix infested, where a mob is full of worms, Gahooni worms, and they heal
Tapeworms.
everything around them. So we dealt with that in Waycrest Manor. Yeah, Waycrest Manor plus 10.
With Sanguini.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
So fun.
And watching the worms go through the doors, go through the floor, and they are capable, these worms. There's, when you kill that mob, the worms pop out, and you have to kill them before they reach the next mobs.
They go wherever
However,
they
they
want.
can travel through walls. And if you know Waycrest
They're
Manor, you'll
interdimensional.
also know that there are infested mobs in the lobby. They're entirely capable of going into the basement at that point, or through the floor, or through the wall to the left. And if that door's the one that's locked, because you need to start going to the right, because of course the route through Waycrest changes, then they'll pull the entire instance. There's not much you can do about it, because they'll just go,
really good.
I'm going through a wall, bye. I'll go through the door and stuff. I just
Bye.
like to picture the little worms with keys opening the door and running on through, and things like that. But that's the kind of thing that we're seeing all over the place right now. It's depressing. It is depressing. It is depressing. But what I'm seeing is more people either move on. I mean, I think one of the biggest outcries that people are noticing more than ever is how thin Blizzard is spreading the game in order to really drag out as much as possible. It feels a bit like a phone game in that regard, like a mobile phone game. But yet there's no way to circumvent the system. It's an enforced phone game time gating system. So an example would be obviously the Warfronts. And people now don't know they're on a monthly cycle, which makes very little sense. It makes very, very little sense. I understand why the turning... Oh, let's talk about that for a moment. So people noticed that the turning contribution war effort was actually just a lie. And it is. It's a lie, because most people will do it in the first few days, and they're not repeatable. So you can't get it any quicker. You can't do anything to make it go faster.
Fill
other
the
than
bar.
Capping another character just to do
Doesn't
Warfront
matter.
turns to get your Warfronts earlier. No. That's not
That's
the way
great.
that's going to play out, is it, my dudes? That's not the way that's going to play out.
No.
And now they obviously realize as of yesterday this is a monthly cycle, and people are like, well, I've got to wait 4 weeks for this, and then you actually do them, which is what we pre-warned, and it's like you can't lose unless you like literally get everybody to AFK, and therefore be like, I'm just not enjoying this because it's just doing it on its own for the most part. Like 5 or 6 players can actually make it go, and it's quite a bummer.
Oh, LFR.
As for me, where am I standing? Well, I'm kind of okay. Like I've had frustrations. Certainly, I'm definitely dropping off on World Quest and stuff now. They're just not worth the time anymore. If we were realistic,
very
the
true.
best thing I think a lot of us could do for the game right now is stop farming AP in any form.
Can we perm ban the bots?
Because then they have no choice but to adjust everything to what the player base is. It's never going to happen, I understand.
I can go back
but
and I'll
they
do it
can't
later
release the next tiers with these ludicrously high AP levels, which is what they might do for the people who are grinding hardcore, who are spending those 16 hours in islands with their brain falling out of their ear.
16 hours in islands,
we know
man.
there's people like 26 and 27 Heart of Azeroth level. It's like, you're spoiling it. Keep it low, and they'll have to make it low. Because as some people have now found out, some Azeroth gear changes depending on what your current level is to make sure you have something to grind.
What?
Right? And this is what it's about, spreading it thin.
Wait,
and
what?
Keep moving the carrot and the goalpost a little bit further away. But in terms of me, I've done my Mythic 10s. I've got one more to do. I've done Gahoon Heroic twice, which was kind of fun. It was kind of fun. He's much more difficult now, which got me more engaged as a player. I quite enjoyed that,
right?
honestly. I did quite enjoy that. And I'm enjoying Uldia, which is my main focus of the game. I'm very much enjoying Uldia. In terms of what do I think Blizzard's going to do? BlizzCon's got to be a big
Nothing.
deal. It has to be. They have to be looking to do something pretty cool because
classic WoW.
It's just becoming too much of a farce for a lot of players that everything keeps moving around. Like right now, the Warfronts are a bit of candy for some guys who aren't capable of, say, doing Mythic Dungeons because they're getting 340 items. Which, if you can do Mythic Dungeons, you're well aware that's terrible, terrible gear, but it's higher than what they have right now. But it's such a little upgrade. And obviously, again, praying for Titanforge. I have some interesting thoughts on praying for Titanforge.
That's so fun. I love that.
I think there's a full video there on how that system has actually gone. But
it's great.
Those guys, again, are going to be tidied over for a while. The Alliance is going to get that in a couple of weeks. Those guys will be sort of like okay for a while. And then we've kind of run dry of the stuff that Blizzard can pace out in terms of giving it to us. Because next week we'll have Mythic Raiding. And by that point, we have everything. Right? So it's literally 2 weeks' time. The Alliance will have the Warfronts. And then everybody has everything that BFA has to offer.
Wow.
If you're Horde and you're not Mythic Raiding, you have everything now. You have everything BFA has to offer. And they've staggered it in such a way as to there's a new carrot there's a new thing to go for, a new thing to go for. Which is when, as we said on the web shows, that's when I kind of think people are going to be really hitting the wall in terms of stuff to do that's interesting and engaging. Because it really does feel like most things now are designed with longevity in mind, which is how long can we get people to play this, rather than is this a fun thing to do? Is this engaging? Is this really good? I have a final thought for the guys who, no matter how bad things have been recently, and they have been bad, from a customer standpoint, service has been really bad. It has. We've dealt with some insane problems, and we still persist with insane problems. And I don't want it to be this way, but it is this way. But the non-stop defense. If I used to be in sales, if I had customers like those who, no matter how atrocious and how obvious mistakes are, that they will go, it's fine, it's all good, it's not a big deal. Those guys, like I would be having my kids' entire lives paid for already, because I have no idea how you can be that weak. Because I love Blizzard too, but you can't just gloss over every time somebody feeds you a shit sandwich. And right now,
they don't even brush their teeth.
2.0? No. I would prefer WoD right now. And I know some of you are going, you're taking the piss. I'm not. You know why? Well, in WoD,
wait, what?
The rest of the game is kind of crap. But I could sort everything out in my garrison and never had to bother with it. Do you know what I mean? There's a big difference there. Right now, I would rather be in a situation where I could just sort my garrison out and have it ticking over and go and play other things until it was time to raid, rather than feeling like I need to go and save the turtles in order to keep my AP levels up, because they might just bump up or alter the levels randomly and stuff like that. I would rather that. I would rather all my herbs and stuff came out of the garrison and my ores and things like that. I would rather that than personally thinking, well, Islands time again. But maybe I'm being a little too harsh there. We'll see how it goes. But that's where I am. In-game content, raid content, I'm all right. Mythic dungeons are interesting. Some of them are far worse than others, depending on the affixes, which is classic of Mythic Plus, which also keeps it varied. You want the affixes are supposed to change the nature of a dungeon, and therefore that content I'm fine with, certainly at the higher levels. And the raiding, I'm fine with. Heroic's okay. It's all right. And I'm hoping Mythic's going to be better. But I'm so worried, as I have been for months now, about everybody else who's not doing that content. If you're just going to grind Warfronts over and over again for 340 gear,
wow,
how long is that going to, how long is that going to be okay? Are they just going to keep bumping it up?
That's big content.
I don't know, but I hope for BlizzCon good announcements. I feel at this point they're definitely going to have to pull the wild card that me and Andy speculated about for a while, which is pull the Allied race card for the Zandalari trolls and the Alliance one.
Oh, that'll make everyone happy.
Zandalari trolls, what's the Alliance getting? Cold Tyrans. Cold Tyrans. Is that the fat dudes or the
fatties?
The fatties. Yeah.
Wow.
Fatties.
What do you think? Andy's just coming to work. Do you think they're going to have to pull the wild card already?
Unquestionably.
Unquestionably. They've got to pull the Allied race wild card.
Wow.
Yeah, Vulpera.
Fat shaming?
Potentially.
I think the Allied race card's all they've got up the sleeve right now. Because it's not an easy fix.
Is when things like this happen, like with the stuff that you're talking about, this is a constant running sub boost. That's what it is. It's a license to print money, so I'm definitely 100% expecting at least 2.
Yeah, I don't want that to come across as pessimistic from me or Andy.
Cynical as fuck, but it's real.
I said at the beginning, it's not a
That's
quick fix.
real, dude.
Azerite armor is not a quick fix. You can't. They might have to bite the bullet and redo everyone's traits if they want to keep people interested in that carrot. That's not
true.
an easy thing to do, dudes. It's not. It's not an easy thing to do.
Very
it's
true.
not a case of fixing a flaw or something like that. That's the entire foundation of the system. And people have been farming it, working on it. They're now getting raid tiers and stuff. A lot of this stuff, class balance, again, it's not an easy fix. Really isn't. You can't just keep buffing stuff by 5 and 10%, as we've seen this week. I mean, we're talking about balance that's so bad they've had to buff some specs by 20%. Absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Beta, by the way.
So we'll wait and see, but that's where I'm at right now. I know it's a bit doom and gloom, but I think that's a reflection of the player base right now. I really do. And looking at these bugs, and I know for the last week or so, a small indie company, or even longer, has been a meme. But as many people have said to me, it's like, it was a meme. Now it's just getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's sad. Because this was the company we could trust, and it doesn't feel that way anymore. And I hope they give me that spark. I hope they come out and say, this is what we've got for you. I don't want an apology. And I agreed with the Reddit thread on this as well. I don't want an apology. I don't want to see a company apologizing to me. They might do it to satiate some people. I don't want that. Tell me what you're going to do about this. Do you really expect people to be grinding islands for the next year because you keep moving the AP levels up to get the same traits I already have? Is that the idea? Are the Warfronts going to go 340, then they're 350, then they're 360, and keep the player base chasing these ludicrously crappy items for some reason? Is that the plan? Or have you got something in the works that's actually going to be like a Blizzard thing that we'd like to see? Thank you so much for listening, guys. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
So, basically, Preach is not happy with the way that it's going. And, yeah, I mean, he's right, though. I mean, in a lot of ways, he's right. Like, BFA's really, like... The thing with me is that, like, I'm doing a lot of PvP. So, excuse me. The truth is that I've actually been enjoying a lot of BFA because I've liked doing PvP. But regardless of that, it's still missed a lot, right?